I think the impeachment inquiry is absurd. The American people want us to do something that will make their lives better, not go off on these chases and witch hunts.
Yeah, like that thing with the dossier and the phone call to Ukraine and the Russian collusion. And yeah, no witch hunts. Were it not for double standards, the Lizard King would have no standards at all. What a reptile that man is. Do you think he sheds his skin once a year? I think it's quite possible. And what's with that tongue hanging out of his mouth like a gecko? Well, happy Wednesday to you. Hump day in the Clinton household. Hillary's got to clear out. The Energizer Bunny might be headed over. Secret Service clears the driveway so her custom van has a place to park. She's got a custom van. It's carpeted on the inside, all over the walls and the ceiling and stuff. Very 70s. Well, once again, my cup runneth over. The illegal alien murderer on the loose in the United States because of Joe Biden that murdered the woman by stabbing her to death, stabbing her 38 times in front of her two little children, I think a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old, watched their mother murdered, stabbed 38 times by the illegal alien, whose name is Danilo. They call him Danny, you know. Danilo Cavalcante was captured by law enforcement today, by police, who the Democrats hate. They hate the police. They love illegal aliens, and they love murderers, don't they? They have murders. And Danilo Cavalcante, he had a rifle with him, but apparently did not use it. He might not have had ammo. Or as one of my colleagues said here at the radio station this morning, really he's more of a knife guy. He might not be good with rifle, with firearms, but he's more of a knife person, as we know, based on his history. And he is an illegal alien. He's in the country illegally. And the nice woman in Pennsylvania wouldn't have been murdered by this man, Danilo Cavalcante, if the illegal alien had not been in the country illegally, thanks to the Democrat Party, who like illegal things and criminals and killers. And they hate the police. They hate the police. And the police, I tell you, the police there in Pennsylvania that captured this animal, who's been on the loose for 2 weeks now, they captured him. They looked like Delta Force. They were geared up for hunting a killer with a rifle in the woods, and they were appropriately attired, I must say. And they took him away in an armored vehicle, an armored police vehicle, to take him in for booking and all that stuff. And, the Democrats, they're against the police, including Joe Biden. Joe Biden is against the police possessing and using armored vehicles, like when they're going up against crazed illegal alien killers with rifles in the woods in Pennsylvania. Joe Biden wants to make sure they don't have the appropriate protection that they need. But these police officers, man, they were, full camouflage and body armor and helmets and rifles, and they're ready to go against this bad guy because any one of them might have encountered him in the woods. And, it's like, whoa, it's just a .22 rifle. A .22 rifle will kill you if anyone shoots you with a .22 rifle. If they know how to use it. And again, maybe he's a knife man, Danilo Cavalcante. But honestly, people forget, I like to remind people, Sirhan Sirhan used a .22 caliber pistol and shot and killed Robert F. Kennedy when he was running for president the night of the California primary in Los Angeles, California. And John Hinckley used a .22 caliber pistol, and they will kill you. And a rifle, long rifle round, .22 caliber, if you can point and shoot, .22 rifle will kill you perfectly well. And the police came at him. You don't want a fair fight when it comes to capturing Danilo Cavalcante, the illegal alien who's in the country illegally, thanks to Joe Biden, and murdered that woman by stabbing her 38 times in front of her two little children. Because the Democrats love murder, and their policies lead to more murder because the Democrat Party, honestly, has a sickness. They're suffering from a sickness that has to do with all kinds of demented things, not just being anti-police and pro-criminal and pro-crime, but, who do you think shooting all these people in all our big cities around the country and killing all these people? Not a bunch of MAGA hat-wearing Trump-voting Republicans, I'll tell you that much. In fact, the news media, they would have been all over this story like stink on Michael Moore if only he had been a MAGA red hat wearing, Trump T-shirt wearing Republican. Then it'd be a really big story. But the truth is, and the Media Research Center took a look at this, and they discovered that the news media, the network news, they actually covered the story a lot. Not that you'd notice because who watches them anymore. But the ABC, NBC, CBS, Media Research Center, MRC, the great Brent Bozell and his wonderful organization, Media Research Center, they do Newsbusters and online and everything else. They monitor, they watch these network news and other news outlets for what they do, and then they tell the world. CBS Fake News, which I think has the lowest approval rating of any of the network news organizations now, including cable, I believe. But CBS News has dedicated 24.5 minutes, 24 minutes and 51 seconds, rather. And NBC News dedicated 42 minutes and 42.5 minutes. And ABC News, with the greatest amount of coverage, 47.34 minutes of coverage since August 31st and the escape. And not once did any of them mention the fact that he is in the country illegally, that he's an illegal alien, because that would reflect negatively on Joe Biden, the Biden administration, and the Democrat Party, who are the party of open borders and illegal aliens and murdering women across the country. Not to put too fine a point on it, but Danilo Cavalcante did put too fine a point on it, didn't he? So that is a great analysis by the Media Research Center with the Democrat-run media zero mentions, zero, not one, of the fact that he's in the country illegally. An illegal alien shouldn't have been here. The woman in Pennsylvania would be alive and well today, feeding her kids breakfast right about now in Pennsylvania. But instead, she's dead because of Democrat Party policies that lead to all form of mayhem and murder and carjackings and looting and arson and anti-police attacks and so on. And the Democrat Party does suffer from a sickness. You got the children, and we've got a big update on that because there was a hearing yesterday on Capitol Hill about the books that Democrats are putting into children's schools, to school libraries, and, gender queer and other crazy books that's so insane. Only LGBTQ sex, only gay sex for kindergarten and first grade and second, and gender confusion and gender dysphoria for the little children because they're going to sink their teeth into the children and suck the lifeblood out of them with their dementia. And that's part of the Democrat Party's sickness. The Democrat Party, and I got to tell you, the Speaker of the House or some Republican ought to be out there every day saying it out loud, although Senator John Kennedy yesterday did a pretty good job of laying out what we're talking about here, because none of the media will talk about these demented gay children's books that the Democrats are forcing into school libraries and attacking you if you raise an eyebrow. But Senator Kennedy read, imagine this, from a couple of the books that the Democrats have put into children's libraries that are pretty sick gay child porn books. And the Democrats call you a book burner and a book banner, like you're a Nazi if you don't want gay child porn in your kindergartner's class, because the Democrat Party has a sickness, honestly. The open borders, the murder in Pennsylvania. Oh, and Joe Biden, he's running for president, allegedly, and he's demented, and they're going to have no debates. Also, RFK Jr., no debates, no primary debates, and no presidential debates because Joe Biden is not up to the task, as he proves again and again. Even a hack at the Washington Post has a piece today that Joe Biden shouldn't run for re-election in 2024, and he is a total Democrat Party bootlick and a shill for the intelligence community and has been for a long time. I'll get to that as well. But the Democrat Party, I'm telling you, from the capture of this illegal alien murderer by the police, who the Democrats oppose, taking him away in an armored vehicle, which the Democrats oppose, wearing military gear, using military-style weapons, wearing body armor, which the Democrats oppose. They captured the illegal alien killer from Brazil, who's wanted for murder in Brazil and was convicted of murder in Pennsylvania and then escaped with the help of a couple of other Democrats in prison there. And the Democrat Party has a sickness. I think I should write a song about the Democrat Party has a sickness. What do you think? Here, let's start. Bum, 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 bum. All right, we'll get to that later. So we got a bit of that going on. And they captured the murderous lunatic, and apparently no shots fired. Here's another thing the Democrats will attack the police for. The police looked like, there was a SWAT team or more, and again, looking like a military unit and appropriately hunting this killer with a rifle in the woods of Pennsylvania. And they captured him. And when they captured him, they cuffed him and they stood him up. And the group of police that captured him stood and they posed for a photo. And with their captured prey in the middle, standing up with handcuffs on. And, hey, down in front, a couple of guys down in front so you could see the officers in the back. And it's going to be a great photo that everybody will proudly display on their walls. And I promise you, the Democrats, and that means the media too, because they're the Democrats, they will attack the police and ridicule the police for posing for a photo. But it's amazing that there were no more lives lost, and I assumed that he would go down in a blaze of gunfire, and the police would be forced to kill him. It would be suicide by cop in some form or another. And I'm surprised to see that Danilo Cavalcante was taken alive by the police. And, of course, they'll get no credit for not just shooting him on sight, because the Democrat Party, part of their sickness, is to be anti-police all the time. And you just watch. We'll probably have it before the end of the show. The media attacking the police for posing for a photo, stopping to take a photo. Also, is it true he was wearing a Philadelphia Eagles jersey when they got him? Is that right? I think he was wearing an Eagles jersey. So maybe you take him to the jail at the stadium. And they cut it off him with scissors. All right? Apparently Steelers fans, because they had scissors and they cut the jersey off of the killer. Democrats were hoping that he'd be loose long enough to vote for them in next year's elections. The Democrats are not on our side. They're really not. And there's a sickness. They're child, gay, sex, dementia, the anti-police dementia, the pro-criminal dementia, the open borders dementia, the pro-illegal alien dementia, the defend Joe Biden at all cost dementia. We have updates on that today as well, and lots to get to. Now that's just off the top of my head to get going this morning, because the capture just happened a very short time ago. But the Mona Charen in the online and the Bulwark. Stop hiding Biden. Stop hiding Biden. The news media and the Democrats, but I repeat myself, are doing everything they can to protect Joe Biden. They're closing ranks now. The walls aren't closing in, but the news media is closing in around Joe Biden to protect him. They're forming a gauntlet around him, and their bayonets are affixed, and they're pointed outward, not at Joe Biden. And anyone that dares tell the truth about Joe Biden and the $20 million and the laptop and honestly, and the money from Ukraine and the millions from Russia and the millions from China, anybody that talks about that is the bad guy. If you talk about what the whistleblowers have said, or Tony Bobulinski and Joe Biden being the big guy, or the offline cell phone that Joe Biden had to take calls from Hunter while he was in business meetings with foreign nationals from hostile countries, getting the prosecutor fired, the more than 150 suspicious activity reports, the testimony of IRS whistleblowers, of Eric Schwerin, another one of the Biden family business inner circle people who has come out and told the truth. And the news media stands there and says, you have no evidence. There is a mountain of evidence right in front of them. And still they're yelling, you have no evidence. The White House has a guy named Ian Sams who lies like a North Korean. Honestly, he's amazing. We've got that coming up. Yeah, and the White House has now put out a dossier. They love that word, dossier. Dossier, it's French for a big pack of lies. Well, that's what we know it is. White House puts out epic dossier to try to torpedo GOP impeachment, quote, stunt. the left-wing radicals at Mediaite are peddling. Amazing stuff. White House condemns the impeachment. Naturally. Sure, that's the thing. House committee warns staffers as crime rate soars in Washington, D.C., in our nation's capital. The Washington Times has the story. And wait till you hear this John Kennedy, Senator John Kennedy, reading from the children's books that the Democrats are putting in your children's classrooms. It is hardcore gay kiddie porn, for which another Democrat was just thrown in jail, the mayor of College Park, Maryland, a few months ago. Also, the CIA, with another crooked CIA thing, lying about the origins of the Wuhan Red Death because the agency paid them cash to change their story. Nancy Pelosi and more Democrat madness. We're at 888-630-9625. Hey, it's Chris Plant, excited to tell you about our July 2024 Listener Sea Cruise. We'll be sailing around the British Isles, visiting Scotland and Ireland. Please join us. Book by this July 31st for extra savings. Visit ChrisPlantCruise.com. It's possible that I misspoke a few minutes ago when I said that the escaped illegal alien Democrat Danilo Cavalcante was wearing an Eagles jersey. Not quite. It's an Eagles sweatshirt. It was an Eagles sweatshirt. And I like the New York Times says they watched the video and the police captured him and they posed for a picture. They grabbed him, they stood him up. And the team, again, looking like SEAL Team 6 or Delta Force, they stood around him and they stopped for a photograph, which is going to be a great photograph for them to have in their police photo album. And the media is going to go crazy. I promise you they're going to go crazy, and Democrats on Capitol Hill will condemn them because they hate the police and they love illegal alien murderers. It's kind of a strange thing. I can't explain it. I can only observe it and make note of it. But yeah, it was a sweatshirt, an Eagles sweatshirt. And they cut it off him with a pair of scissors when they were putting him in the back of the armored vehicle, which Joe Biden opposes in police hands because he wants them to be less safe and not more safe, not to be protected from Democrats with rifles, but wants them to be vulnerable to Democrats with rifles. And I'm going to stop using the word criminals. I've replaced it with the word Democrats because I live in Washington, D.C., and I know that goes. But the media is going to attack them for posing for the photo. The guy should be glad he didn't get 200 or 300 bullets in him when they found him. And now he goes back to prison. Oh, and the New York Times says that, what does it say? It says that they appeared to cut the sweatshirt off of him. They watched the video, and they're not sure what they saw. The New York Times is always good for a laugh. I get the Washington Post at my front door every day because it, too, is good for a laugh. Usually more than one laugh a day. The New York Times today, they've got their reporting. I'm making quotation marks with my fingers. They're reporting on the capture of the illegal alien. You think they'll, I guess that they mention it somewhere in here. At an unknown time and at an unknown location, Danilo Souza Cavalcante, the 34-year-old citizen of Brazil, entered the United States unlawfully. He entered the United States unlawfully. That's they mention it. This is probably the first mention. But CBS, NBC, ABC still have not mentioned. Maybe this morning, but I doubt it, since they haven't mentioned it over the last 2 weeks since he escaped and the manhunt was on. By the way, the Associated Press style guide, which is followed by pretty much every newsroom in the United States of America, recommends that no journalist use the word manhunt because it's sexist. It might be a woman hunt or might be a transgender hunt. If it's a Democrat, might be a genderless newt of some kind. So no kidding, the Associated Press put out years ago guidance to newsrooms, don't use the word manhunt because it has the word man in it. right? Pretty amazing stuff. Don't use manhole, like manhole cover. Manhole, can't use that. No. We'll leave that Democrat in Virginia out of it for now. At an unknown time and an unknown location, Danilo Souza Cavalcante, 34-year-old citizen of Brazil, entered the United States unlawfully without being inspected or admitted by a U.S. immigration official. You think? According to the Department of Homeland Security. Thank God we have a Department of Homeland Security to tell us that. Sometime after that, in April of 2021, prosecutors said he fatally stabbed his Brazilian girlfriend in front of her children in Pennsylvania. Prosecutors said he was convicted, you see, and he was convicted of murder and sentenced to life in prison. Well, now, I think you can skip the prosecutors said, since he's been convicted in a court of law. It was the second time he was accused of a horrific crime. He was fleeing a 2017 murder charge in Brazil when he entered the United States. The authorities said. We have authorities. His escape from the Chester County Prison in Pennsylvania on August 31st touched off a colossal manhunt, sexist word, now entering its second week, and a host of questions about why Mr. Cavalcante had not been deported after his arrest in the United States. Well, because he was accused of murder. We don't just, okay, you can go. We caught this other Brazilian in New Hampshire. Immigration and Customs Enforcement did a couple of weeks ago in New Hampshire, a guy working at some unsuspecting idiot's house. Well, it's not the homeowner's fault. It's Joe Biden's fault. And this Brazilian was convicted of 11 murders in Brazil as a former military policeman, a massacre of 11 people. And he escaped and then came to the United States, and the Democrats waved him in. I think Kamala Harris was down there waving him in, saying, go to New Hampshire. And the Democrats oppose immigration customs enforcement. They want to defund it. They're against immigration and customs enforcement. So naturally, they're against the agency also. Just amazing. He had not been deported after his arrest in the United States, and whether once captured, he would remain in a U.S. prison at taxpayers' expense. Suddenly, the New York Times is concerned about taxpayer expense. The case highlights an issue the criminal justice system has long confronted, : they love their colons. The question of what happens when crimes are committed by undocumented immigrants. That'd be illegal aliens and wanted murderers, right? Who studies show are much less likely to commit crimes than U.S.-born citizens. They commit a crime when they come into the United States illegally. That's a crime. Every day they're here is a crime. And they go on to say all kinds of ridiculous things. His sister was an illegal alien. Well, actually is an illegal alien. She hasn't been deported yet either. Police went to her and said, we want your help in capturing your brother, the murderer, who's on the loose. And she said, no, I will not help you. And now she's got her own show on MSNBC. All right, not yet, but soon. She'll probably be on The View, and she'll be cheered because the Democrat Party has a sickness, and it's everywhere. They actually got his mother in Brazil to make a recording saying, Danilo, turn yourself in Portuguese, of course, in Portuguese. And they flew helicopters over the search area with big speakers, blasting his mother's voice. Danilo, turn yourself in. I'm translating, of course. You must turn yourself in. Don't kill no more people because the killing is not so good. And they blasted mother's voice over the trees in the hope that he'd turn himself in. He did not. He did not. And the New York Times says, and I'm laughing at this because this story looks like it's written by his lawyers. In Mr. Cavalcante's case, lawyers said, and the New York Times parrots, any decision on deporting him would most likely have to be postponed until after he had served out his sentence. He was sentenced to life. But they don't believe that because they'd let the murderers go anyway. Amazing stuff. And the New York Times says, the United States is home to more than 11 million undocumented migrants. It could be 20 million. They just say more than. It could be 30 million. But that's more than 11 million. And if you can't believe the New York Times, who can you believe? Honestly, amazing stuff. Most of whom intentionally stay in the shadows and steer clear of trouble with law enforcement. Then how do you know whether they commit crimes at a lower rate? Which you just said a couple of paragraphs earlier. How can you possibly make a claim like that when you, a couple of paragraphs later, say that most illegal aliens, as they're known by the law, live in the shadows and steer clear of trouble with law enforcement? You mean they steer clear of law enforcement because they're breaking our laws every single day. Amazing stuff. Mr. Cavalcante was wanted in Brazil in connection with the slaying of a man in his small town of Figueirópolis in 2017. Even if Brazil had issued an Interpol notice, the International Police Organization, calling for his arrest, the United States would have had no reason to believe he was living in the United States. Well, sure, because the Democrats have an open border and millions of people have flowed in just under Joe Biden. Speaking of which, we've just shattered the record for illegal aliens coming in across the border who are on the terror watch list because Democrats love terrorists. They gave us the White Knights of the Ku Klux Klan, their boy Nathan Bedford Forrest, and of course Robert Byrd, Senator Robert Byrd of West Virginia, who is the exalted cyclops of the Democratic Party. I interviewed Senator Byrd more than once, and it's the Democrats. They're not on our side, but the illegal aliens on the terror watch list. Listen to this. In 2020, at our southwest border, Customs and Border Protection nabbed 3 people. That's President Trump's last year in office. Grabbed 3 people on the terror watch list. And then Joe Biden was inaugurated on January 20th of 2021. And in 2021, Customs Border Protection captured 15 people at our southern border on the terrorist watch list. Again, 3 in 2020, 15 in 2021. Joe Biden is in. 2022, 98. Again, 3 President Trump's last year, 98 in 2022. And so far this year, 146 illegal aliens captured by Customs and Border Protection on the terror watch list. Remember, it was 19 radical Islamic jihadis that carried out the attacks of September 11th, 2001. Just this year, 146 captured by Customs and Border Protection. The Democrats are against Customs and Border Protection. They're against immigration and customs enforcement. And again, the last 4 years from 2020 until today, 3 terror watch list, 15 terror watch list, 98 terror watch list. This year, 146 terror watch list. We know that Uzbeks from Central Asia, Uzbekistan in the stands, Uzbeks have been captured in significant numbers crossing our southern border. And they were ushered in by a representative of ISIS working in Mexico to smuggle people into the United States. And that begs the question, what could go wrong? What could possibly go wrong here? Isn't that amazing? Yeah, the New York Times is spinning this for the illegal alien murderer captured by the police. And we're going to take a look real soon to catch the Democrat media mocking and attacking the police for posing for a photo with their captured prey, because they're not on our side. Boy, oh boy, are they not on our side. And the terror watch list in the southern border and the news media, ABC, NBC, and CBS, 0 mentions of the fact that he's an illegal alien in the country, because why would that matter in the telling of the story? Okay, let's go to the telephones. What do you say? Because and look, we've got wait till you hear Senator John Kennedy reading from the Democrat Party's child gay porn, or is it gay child porn? I think it's gay child porn that they're putting in all of our schools and attacking you if you don't love it. just completely crazy, the Democrats, and Joe Biden and the impeachment inquiry, which in theory is now underway. I've got a lot of updates and the Democrats lying about that coming up as well. I think you'll enjoy it. Let's go to the phones. Let's go to Helen calling from Cathead Creek, Florida. Anybody that calls from Cathead Creek, Helen, goes to the front of the line. Helen from Cathead Creek, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, it's Helen from Charleston, but I had a couple of days away and pulled over at Cathead Creek to give you this call. Got a quick comment and quick question. So I've got a friend who is a news addict, but they're addicted to MSDNC and the like, and was engrossed by this story of this illegal alien, but they don't know that it's an illegal alien. So I said to my friend, you know that that's an illegal alien, right? They didn't believe me. And it was might be the beginning of a shift there, because I was like, you're not getting all the news. When you just watch one side, you're not getting a lot of the news, and they had to look it up, because you're right. The other news sources, they are not saying that this was an illegal alien. So then I got a quick question.
Sure.
So now, breaking news today, CIA whistleblower saying CIA is giving bribes to who are they giving the money to? And that's
to CIA officers. To CIA officers, because the CIA officers had come to the conclusion that the Wuhan Red Death had originated at the Wuhan Institute of Virology in Wuhan, Communist China. And when the CIA officers came to that conclusion, according to a whistleblower with decades of experience at the CIA, who's a senior CIA officer, the whistleblower that's come forward, says that the CIA actually made sure that these CIA officers got cash in exchange for changing their story on the origins of the Wuhan Red Death.
Wow. So the follow-up question is to you is, does this mean we got to start worrying about the CIA in the same way we're worrying about the FBI?
Yes.
I mean, who are the CIA? Are they for the Americans, or have they sold out to the Chinese?
Well, there are certainly individuals in the CIA. Let's take into account, because, I spent 10 years covering the CIA for, of all people, CNN and the U.S. military, and my office was in the Pentagon for 10 years covering the intelligence community and the military. And the CIA directors, Mike Morrell and John Brennan, penitentiary face Brennan, they signed on to that letter of 51 criminals that lied to the American people and spun the lie that the Hunter Biden laptop had all the earmarks of Russian disinformation. And they're going to stand by that lie. Well, we didn't say it was Russian disinformation. We're just going to, we just said that it had all the earmarks of Russian disinformation, and it did. Now, that was a seditious conspiracy by those 51 criminals, in my estimation, who attempted successfully to affect the outcome of the 2020 presidential election. And people really need to be in handcuffs and frog-marched for that seditious conspiracy. And make no mistake, definitely a seditious conspiracy by these 51 criminals who deliberately set out and successfully corrupted our presidential election in 2020 and corrupted the news media coverage of the Hunter Biden laptop on the lead up to Election Day. And John Penitentiary Face Brennan, who was made CIA director by Barack Obama. Barack Obama, as a teenager, was mentored by Frank Marshall Davis, a card-carrying member of the Communist Party. John Brennan voted, he proudly said again and again, proudly voted for Gus Hall, the Communist Party candidate for the presidency of the United States. Brennan voted for the commies. Barack Obama was mentored by the commies. He's an Alinskyite who is, seen in photographs diagramming Alinsky tactics when he's supposed to be teaching law in Chicago. Yeah, we've got to worry about the CIA just like we worry about the FBI. And I'm glad you brought up this news story because this is a big story today, Helen. And how does Cathead Creek, Florida look to you?
Peaceful, very peaceful.
Is that right? Cathead Creek.
Yeah.
I've never been to Cathead Creek.
It's very, very small.
I think I want to get there, though.
Actually, it's in Georgia. It's by Darien. Very peaceful.
Right on the border.
It's a good getaway.
By Moody Air Force Base.
Listen, your reporting gives all of this information that the people who only listen to the left, they don't get any of this stuff.
Yep.
And you do it with humor. You do it with wit. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Helen. Thank you very much. Since you talked about what the news media leaves out, I always say the most insidious power the media has the power to ignore, and they do a lot of it. I have an Albert Einstein quote that I want to share with you in a moment. A quote that should hang in every newsroom in America, but doesn't. All right, Helen, wonderful call from Cathead Creek. I have never been to Cathead Creek. I love the name. I might have to go there. It's the Florida-Georgia line. Or is it Georgia-Florida line?
The band is Florida-Georgia.
Florida-Georgia line. That's what I thought, yeah. Yeah. I did go down there to fly an F-16 one time at Moody Air Force Base, South Georgia, Valdosta, Georgia. The sound of freedom is in the air. Great stuff. But I was just talking to Helen, and who's driving through Cathead Creek. But if you're driving through, you got a call from Cathead Creek. I agree with that. And Helen is very smart and well-informed, and she pays attention, and she cares. She cares. Now, and I just mentioned an Albert Einstein quote because Helen was describing her friend who's a lefty and watches MSDNC and didn't know that the illegal alien subject of the manhunt, the murderer, was an illegal alien because MSDNC didn't say that, and NBC didn't say it, and CBS didn't say it, and ABC didn't say it. And most of the other media didn't say it either because that's not helpful to the Democrat Party. Well, Albert Einstein, it's engraved the Albert Einstein Memorial on the grounds of the National Academy of Sciences in Washington, D.C. Ridden my bike down there many, many times. Albert Einstein said, "The right to search for truth implies also a duty. One must not conceal any part of what one has recognized to be true." That should be hanging on the wall of every newsroom, but it isn't.